Hello there, my name's Scott and today I'm going to be doing a review on the Vaporshark DNA30, which I received from www.evapor.nl, who are based in the Netherlands. Now they have asked me to point out they also have another website for international sales, and that website address is www.dna30.com. Before I start, I must point out I did receive it free of charge for the purpose of conducting a review, but my opinion of the product remains true, honest and accurate as always. And let's go straight ahead and show you what's in the box. Okay, so the Vaporshark DNA30 is going to come in a little plastic presentation box, and inside the box you're going to get the actual Vaporshark DNA30, and you also get a USB charging cable. Okay, so here I have the Vaporshark DNA30, which is a very small and compact little variable wattage device that's powered by the Evolve DNA30 board. This means it has a wattage range of 7 watts going up to 30 watts, which increase or decrease in 0.1 increments. It has a 10 amp limit, and for the resistance of your coil you can go as low as 0.5 ohms. It's made out of cast zinc aluminium, and it really is a very solid little device. And the one thing that I was very surprised about was just how small it actually is. I'm measuring this at around 20mm high, 36mm wide and around 75mm long. Like I said, just a very nice small compact size, which is absolutely ideal for carrying around in your pocket. On top you're going to find a 510 atomizer connection, so that means it's going to be compatible with just about every atomizer on the market these days. One thing I will say though is because it's quite a narrow device, if you're going to use the larger atomizers such as the Kayfen for example, it does look a little bit naff because it sort of overhangs so much, and it also makes it quite top heavy. But for the smaller atomizers like your spheroids for example, it works an absolute dream, and that's what I've been mainly using it with. Right in the centre there you're going to find a sprung loaded centre pin, which is great because it means you can get all your atomizers to sit completely flush. And if you do need to use an atomizer where you need sort of air channels at the bottom there, you do have your air channels, so that's not going to be a problem. On one side of the body you're going to find a fair amount of sort of branding on there, which says Vaporshark and DNA, and just below that you're going to find a USB charging port. Now this particular version is the USB charging one. I think there's another one which is magnetic charging. I've not seen that myself, so I'm not too sure how that actually works, but this one here is going to use a USB cable to actually charge the battery, and it does use a proprietary battery which I believe is 1200 milliamp hours. So if you're going to charge it up, you just need to obviously plug your USB cable into there, and then plug the other end either into a USB mains adapter or to your PC, and that's it, it will start charging. And as long as it's got a little bit of charge in the battery there, you can charge and vape at the same time. And just above that USB port, you're going to find a small little LED, which is going to be your sort of charging indicator. So if it's red, that means it's charging. If it's green, it means it's fully charged. On the opposite side you're going to find your power button or the switch, and each time you press this down it's going to light up a blue colour, and it has a very sort of firm and positive clicky feel to it, and it works perfectly fine. Every time you press it down it's going to fire up your atomizer. Just below that you're going to find your plus and negative buttons, and these are used for increasing or decreasing your wattage, and like I said it can go up or down in 0.1 increments. I do find though that where they protrude a little bit as you're vaping, you know, your fingers do sometimes sort of rub against them, which then changes your wattage settings. However, you can perform a few features with these buttons as well as increasing or decreasing the wattage, and one of those is actually locking it all off, so it doesn't matter if you press it, nothing's going to get changed. And I will show you how to do that later on in the review. On one of the main sides of the body, you're going to find this quite large and slightly odd looking sort of 3D oblong logo type box. Not too sure why it's there, to be quite honest. It looks really rubbish. I think it looked far nicer if it was left completely plain, or maybe with a sort of a snazzy engraving there instead. On the opposite side you're going to find 2 hex keys, which I can only assume are going to be used to actually take the whole thing apart if you ever need to replace the internal battery. And then on the very bottom you're going to find a screen which provides you lots of really useful information. Now, normally with a variable wattage device, you have to sort of scroll through a menu system if you want to make any changes or see certain information. But with a DNA30 board, it gives you all the information you need right there in front of you. So straight away, I can see that I'm set to 12 watts. I can see that the resistance of my coil is 1 ohms. If I press the power button, you can see the screen lights up a little bit more and it tells you that it's pushing 3.5 volts through that 1 ohm coil to give you that 12 watt output. And it also tells you how much battery life you've got left as well, so absolutely fantastic. Now you may be thinking, well, if you stand this upright on your desk, it's going to start scratching the screen, but as you can hopefully see, the screen does have a lip going all the way around the outside to protect it. Okay, I'll very quickly go through some of the extra features that come with the Vaporshark DNA30, and the first thing to show you is how to lock or unlock it. So let's say, for example, when I carry this around in my pocket and I'm worried about accidental activation, to lock it off, all I need to do is tap the power button quickly 5 times. And that's it, it's now locked, so if I press that, nothing's going to happen. And then if I want to unlock it, all I need to do again is tap it quickly 5 times. And that's it, I'm now good to go. Now, one slight issue I've had with the Vaporshark is because it's such a small size and I've got ginormous hands, it's very easy to accidentally change the wattage settings just from holding it and vaping it. So if you want to lock this off so you can't make any changes, all you need to do is press the positive and minus buttons together at the same time, hold them down for a few seconds, and that will then lock it off. So I can press these now, nothing's going to happen. And again, if you want to unlock it, just repeat the process. Now let's say, for example, you want to vape this and you don't want that screen to illuminate. You can actually turn that off by changing it over to stealth mode. Now to do this, you first of all need to lock the device off, so tap the button quickly 5 times. Then what you need to do is press the power button and the minus button together. Eventually it's going to come up saying normal mode. Keep holding it down until it says stealth mode. And then you can take your fingers off, which is around now. And then when you unlock it, you can now vape with the screen off. And again, to repeat that process to bring the normal mode back. And now it's back to normal mode. And if I tap the button quickly 5 times to unlock it, as you can see, the screen now displays. And then finally, the last feature to show you is how to flip the screen upside down. Now, if you're using a DNA20 board or a DNA30 board in something like a tube mod, this can be quite a handy feature, but with the Vaporshark DNA30, it's pretty irrelevant if you ask me, but nevertheless, I'll still show you how to do it. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is lock it off by tapping the power button quickly 5 times. And then from there, what you're going to do is press and hold the power button and the positive button down together until it says right mode. And then you can take it off, and as you can hopefully see, the screen has now been flipped upside down. And if you want to obviously revert it back to left mode, just repeat that process. And that's it, all back to normal. Okay, so that was the Vaporshark DNA30. Let's go ahead, see what it vapes like. Okay, so that was the Vaporshark DNA30, and what I'll do now is go ahead and show you an action. So I'm going to be using it with my little spheroid. The resistance of the coil is reading 1.1 ohms. I've just put a brand new sort of coil and setup in there, so that's reading 1.1 ohms. And I've currently got the Vaporshark set to 12 watts, which means it's going to push 3.8 volts through that coil. And the tank has been filled up with some 18 milligram strength tobacco flavoured e-liquid, and it's just a PG based e-liquid. Okay, so this is the Vaporshark DNA30. And as you can see, vapor wire is getting plenty of vapour. Obviously, just bear in mind that the amount of vapour you're going to get will come down to what sort of atomizer or tank you stick on the end of it. the type of resistance, type of e-liquid you're using, whether it's PG or VG. And also, primarily, it's going to come down to what sort of a wattage setting you've got on there as well. Now, I'm only using 12 watts, and I know a lot of people will probably think that's quite low. You know, 3.8 volts. That equates to being pushed through the coil to give you that 12 watt output. But you know, that's what works for me. It's a very nice vape. I'm getting plenty of vapor out of it, as you can see. I'm getting plenty of flavour, plenty of throw hit. So for me, 12 watts just seems to hit the spot. Now, when I was first contacted about reviewing the Vaporshark, I had a quick sort of look at it online, and I could see straight away it was going to be quite a small little device, but I didn't realise just how small it actually was. I wasn't expecting it to be probably about an inch bigger in all directions, really. And like I said, as far as I can remember anyway, I measured it at around sort of 20 millimetres across by 36 millimetres by sort of 75 millimetres. And if I actually take this spheroid off and hold it next to it, you can see the actual spheroid is, with the drip tip as well, is pretty much exactly the same size. So hopefully that will give you a rough idea of just how small and sort of pocket friendly it actually is. And actually, while I've got this off, one thing that would be great for the Vaporshark DNA30, I wouldn't actually mind if it was just a little bit wider with a hole sort of down through the centre there, so you can actually drop your atomizer in there, very much like how the micro stick works. And just so instead of having it sort of sticking on the top, you could have it on the side there, and that'd be absolutely fantastic. I really would like that, but nevertheless, it still looks great and performs excellently with the spheroid on top there. But definitely, if there was an option to have it a little bit wider, so you can actually sink the atomizer so it's out of sight, that'd be brilliant. Also, you have a range of, was it 7 watts going up to 30 watts. So if you do want to bump up the old wattage, you've definitely got scopes around to do that. One thing I was really surprised about, as well as the actual size, was the battery life. Now, I've got a few DNA30 mods, or a few mods that use the DNA30 board. And you know, it's great if you like your variable wattage, but the one thing I do notice with those is it tends to go through your batteries quite quickly. Well, saying that, I'm not too sure if it actually goes through your batteries quite quickly, or if the DNA30 board has got quite a high sort of cut-off point for when it sort of shuts down, when the voltage of the battery gets sort of too low. I'm not too sure whether that is the case or not, or whether it actually does go through your batteries quickly. So I wasn't expecting the battery life on this to be fantastic either, but I'm getting almost a full day's worth of vaping out of it. If I start vaping this at say 9 o'clock in the morning, it would last me up until around 11 o'clock at night. And that's using it on its own, no other devices, just using it as an all-day vape. So for me, that is absolutely fantastic, really. If I was going to use a DNA30 with like a 1600 milliamp hour 18650 battery, I'd go through maybe sort of 1.5 of those batteries a day. So bearing in mind it's a far bigger milliamp hour rating compared to the battery that's in here, the fact that I can go almost a full day's worth of vaping on it, you know, is brilliant. Not sure, maybe it's because this uses a LiPo battery compared to the sort of the type of batteries that the AWIMRs are. Maybe that makes a little bit of a difference, not too sure, but regardless, for me, on the DNA30 board, the battery life seems to be far, far better, which is good. The switch on it, you know, it works fine. Every time you press it down, it fires up your atomizer. It's quite a nice switch to use, it's comfortable. I believe they've changed this now to a metal switch. I think on earlier versions it was a sort of plastic switch, something like that, but they seem to make quite a big deal about it on the website, saying updated metal switch. Got a very sort of firm and positive sort of clicky feel to it. But you know, at the end of the day, it does work very nicely. And the positive, or the plus and the minus buttons, which are used for increasing or decreasing your wattage, and the other sort of functions, you know, they work perfectly fine. However, like I said in the close-up shots, as you're vaping it, because it is a very small little device, and especially if you've got big hands like me, your fingers do tend to go near it. So what I do is I just sort of lock it off by holding the minus and the plus buttons down together for a few seconds. And as you may be able to see there, it sort of locks it off, so you can't actually make any changes. Because, you know, when I first got it, I was vaping on it and I was thinking, oh, right, you know, that's a bit strange. I could have sworn I set this to 12 watts and it's now reading like 12.7 or 11.3, you know. So it definitely was quite handy to add that feature to be able to lock it off. I've actually locked doing that. I've clicked the button 5 times by accident as I'm talking to you, and it's locked it. That's it, it's now working again now. The only real negatives I've got with it is I'm not too keen on the sort of 3D oblong box type logo thing which is on one of the sides. I think it would look far nicer if it was just left completely plain, or maybe just with DNA30 sort of engraved into it nicely. The other thing I've noticed is that where you're sort of screwing your atomizer on and off, some of the, I'm not too sure if this is painted or anodized, but whatever it is, some of it is starting to wear off now around the sort of the atomizer connection, so I can see the actual bare metal there. Not too much of an issue, because obviously once you've got your atomizer on there, you know, it's completely hidden away, but nevertheless so is worth mentioning. Overall construction, you know, it really is very solid. Like I said, it's made out of cast zinc aluminium, or aluminum if you're in America, and you know, you could throw that at the wall and it's probably going to do more damage to the wall than the actual Vaporshark DNA30. So in general sort of wear and tear, everyday use, I think this is going to really be one of those sort of devices that can stand the test of time. So, you know, my only real negatives are the paint is starting to sort of chip off a little bit around where you're sort of screwing the atomizer in. It is quite easy to knock the buttons and obviously change the wattage settings, but obviously you do have the option to lock that off, so it's not too much of an issue. And the other sort of very sort of minor thing, not to do with the Vaporshark DNA30 as such, but if you're going to use a sort of larger atomizer like your sort of 22mm atomizers, your Kathans, any sort of Genesis atomizer really, or any 22mm Genesis atomizer, it looks a little bit odd because they are, you know, a fair amount wider than the actual device, and when you go put it down on your desk it will wobble all over the place because it comes very sort of top heavy. But if you're going to use it with something like a spheroid, it's an absolutely fantastic little setup. You know, excellent for sort of having in your pocket and using as an all day everyday vape. Not too sure what else I can really tell you about it, so if you do fancy trying one of these, if you're in the Netherlands, you can go along to www.evapor.nl, or if you're an international customer, you can go along to www.dna30.com. Thank you very much for watching. Also come along and visit my website at www.e-cig-reviews.com. That's e-cig-reviews.com. Cheers guys, happy vaping. See you later.